Hi folks, thanks for stopping by. Welcome back to I Like Big Boats and I Cannot Lie, the series where I like to talk about my favorite thing, submarines. There are a few missing episodes that will be released in the fullness of time. I apologize, I lost some of the footage and I've been working a lot. So I figured I would start out with the month of March and release as I go. Without further ado, we start on the 1st of March with entry in 1939, the commissioning of USS Sailfish, SS-192. Sailfish, a Sargo-class submarine, was built by the Portsmouth Navy Yard of Kittery, Maine. At the time of her commissioning, Lieutenant Oliver F. Naquin was in command. In 1944, the keel was laid for USS Stickleback, SS-415. The contract to build this Vallejo sub had been awarded to the Mare Island Navy Yard in Vallejo, California. There were 120 Vallejo-class submarines built in total, making this the largest in U.S. Navy submarine history. They were a distinct upgrade to the previous Gato class, built with higher yield-strength steel in the pressure hull and frames, enabling them to dive to a depth of 400 feet. In 1963, USS Queenfish, SS-393, was decommissioned and struck from the Naval Vessel Register. She was sunk by the USS Swordfish on 14 August 1963. Queenfish is famous for portraying the USS Sea Tiger in the 1959 movie Operation Petticoat, starring Cary Grant and Tony Curtis. If you don't know who either of those people are, I highly encourage you to do some research into them. Another decommissioning up next, this one of USS Pollock, SSN-603, a Permit-class fast-attack sub. She entered the nuclear-powered ship and submarine recycling program at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington, on the 9th of February 1993. Recycling was completed 17 February 1995. On March 2, 1944, the keel was laid for USS Chopper, SS-342, another Vallejo-class submarine. She was built by Electric Boat of Groton, Connecticut. 1 year later, USS Sea Leopard, SS-483, a Tench-class submarine built by the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, was launched. Her sponsor was the Honorable Margaret Chase Smith, a congresswoman from Maine. USS Plunger, SSN-595, a Permit-class submarine, was laid in 1960 by Mare Island Naval Shipyard. Originally, the contract to build her was awarded as a guided missile submarine, SSGN, but she was later redesignated an SSN, Fast Attack. Permit-class submarines were a significant improvement on their skipjack predecessors, able to run faster, deeper, and quieter than ever before. Permit-class ships had the bow-mounted sonar sphere and angled torpedo tubes placed amidships, also seen in the USS Tellaby. With a smaller sail, the smallest ever fitted to an American nuclear fast attack, they compensated for their longer hull to run at a speed of about 28 knots submerged. Originally, as you may know, these submarines were the Thresher class, but after the loss of USS Thresher in 1963, the class designation was changed to the next boat, Permit. In 1964, USS George C. Marshall, SSBN 654, was laid by Newport News Shipbuilding and Data Company of Newport News, Virginia. She is the only ship to be named for the General of the Army, who served as U.S. Secretary of State from 1947 to 1949, then as Secretary of Defense from 1950 to 1951. I wonder if there's much information out there about the shipyards. Maybe I should do a video on those. Los Angeles class USS Hampton, SSN 767, is up next, laid in 1990 by Newport News. She is specifically named for the cities in Virginia, Iowa, South Carolina, and New Hampshire. Currently, she is in active service, and her motto is Latin for, "Those who desire peace, prepare for war." March 3rd starts out with 3 decommissionings in 1945, USS Barracuda, SS-163, Bass, SS-164, and Bonita, SS-165, 3 of the 9 V-boats. All 3 subs were built by Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Barracuda arrived at the Philadelphia Navy Yard on 16 February 1945 and was sold on the 16th of November of that same year. Bass was decommissioned at Submarine Base New London and used as a target for the Mark 24 Fido mine 9 days later. It is broken into 2 parts and currently serves as an advanced scuba site. Bonita was also decommissioned at the Philadelphia Navy Yard. She was sold 28 October 1945. In 1967, USS Sturgeon, SSN 637, lead ship of her class of 37, was commissioned, with Commander Curtis B. Shellman, Jr. in command. After a month of refresher training, she began her shakedown cruise in April of 1967 down the east coast of Puerto Rico before returning to Groton for repairs. She would be transferred to Submarine Development Group 2 in October of 1967. Sturgeon, or 637 class submarines, were the workhorses of the United States Navy from the 1960s up until 2004, phased out and replaced by the Los Angeles, Seawolf, and Virginia class submarines. They were essentially a lengthened permit class with longer torpedo racks to accommodate Mark 37 torpedoes and a redesign to account for all subsafe equipment. A larger sail allowed for a second periscope. Permit class boats only had the one. The last 9 Sturgeons were lengthened by 10 feet to allow for more electronic equipment and better habitability. In 1979, USS New York City, SSN 696, was commissioned by Electric Boat. Her first commander was James A. Ross. After her commissioning, she carried out 4 Westpac deployments from 1981 to 1985. USS Newport News, SSN 750, was laid on this date in 1984. The contract to build her had been awarded to the Newport News shipyard in 1982. She is currently in active service, homeported in Groton, Connecticut, and her motto is officially Latin for "under the shadow of a great name," but the unofficial one is "thunder from below." On March 4, 1943, the keel was laid for Gato-class USS Kavala, SS-244, built by Electric Boat. Kavala is famous for sinking the Japanese aircraft carrier Shokaku in World War II during her first war patrol. 1 year later, USS Sterlet, SS-392, was commissioned by Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Her commissioning commander was Orm C. Robbins. Following her fitting out and shakedown, she departed Key West, Florida, to join the United States Pacific Fleet. She reached Pearl Harbor in June of 1944 and immediately engaged in training exercises to prepare for her first war patrol in July. In 1946, USS Amberjack, SS-522, was commissioned, with Commander William B. Parham in command. Amberjack, a Tench-class sub, had been built by the Boston Navy Yard. In 1968, USS Torsk, SS-423, was decommissioned. She was turned over to the state of Baltimore in 1972 so she could be preserved as a museum ship. In 1986, she was designated a National Historical Landmark. She remains at the Historic Ships of Baltimore in the Inner Harbor, one of only 2 Tench-class boats preserved. On March 5, 1943, we have USS Grampus, SS-207, possibly sunk on this day by Japanese destroyers in Blackett Strait. Grampus had departed Brisbane in February for his 6th war patrol. Japanese seaplane records report a sinking of a submarine in Grampus's patrol area on the 18th, but USS Greyback reported seeing Grampus on March 4th. On March 5th, 2 Japanese destroyers had conducted an anti-submarine attack near Kolumbangara Island. An oil slick discovered there the next day indicated Grampus may have been lost. She was presumed lost with all hands, and her name was struck from the Naval Vessel Register on June 21st. USS James Madison, SSBN 627, was laid on this date in 1962. She is the lead ship of her class of 10 ballistic missile submarines. James Madison-class subs were identical to their predecessors, the Lafayette sub, except for changes to allow them to carry the Polaris A-3 missile. James Madison, along with George Washington, Ethan Allen, Lafayette, and Benjamin Franklin classes, comprised the 41 for Freedom, the U.S. Navy's primary contribution to the nuclear deterrent force in the 1980s. Last on this date is USS Washington, SSN 787, a Virginia-class submarine built by Newport News. She was christened in 2016 during a ceremony at Newport News Shipbuilding. She is in active service, homeported at Naval Station Norfolk, and her motto is "Preserving Peace, Prepared for War." March 6 starts off with the launching of USS Atule, SS-403. In in 1944, a Thule of Vallejo-class submarine was sponsored by the wife of Rear Admiral James L. Kaufman, Mrs. Elizabeth Louise Kaufman. She had been built by Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. Next is the decommissioning of USS Pintado, SS-387, in 1946. Pintado sailed to San Francisco after her sixth and final war patrol, arriving on the 5th of September 1945. She stayed there until her decommissioning. She was struck from the Naval Vessel Register in 1967 and sold for scrapping to Sidel Explorations in 1969. In 1962, USS Sam Houston, SSBN 609, was commissioned, with Captain W.P. Willis Jr., Commander Jack H. Hawkins assuming command of the Blue and Gold crews respectively. After sea trials, her Blue crew fired its first Polaris missile off Cape Canaveral, Florida, in April. The Gold crew fired its first missile in May before departing Cape Canaveral for their own sea trials. Apparently, their motto was "Try me," which honestly wins any motto competition I may have had going on in my head. USS Atlanta, SSN 712, was commissioned in 1982, built by Newport News Shipbuilding. Her first commander was Robin J. White, and her motto was Latin for "Rise Again." On March 7, 1943, USS Bonefish, SS-223, was launched. She had been built by Electric Boat. Her sponsor was wife of Rear Admiral Freeland A. Dobbin, Mrs. Elizabeth S. Dobbin. In 1958, USS Grayback, SS-574, was commissioned, actually as SSG-574, guided missile submarine, armed with Regalis cruise missiles. Built by Mare Island, Grayback was the lead ship of her class of 2. These boats had 2 missile hangars that were later converted into storage for SEAL swimmer delivery vehicles. In 1994, USS Casimir Pulaski, SSBN 633, was decommissioned and stricken from the Naval Vessel Register. Her scrapping was completed by the nuclear-powered Ship and Submarine Recycling Program at Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in October. USS Colorado, SSN 788, was laid by Electric Boat in 2015. She is the 15th of her class of Virginia submarines, the 5th of the Block 3 Virginia subs, and by the way, these boats use Xbox controllers to control their mast, instead of the joystick Lockheed Martin designed, which, at a cost of $38,000, is more than my car. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.